So I want to talk a little bit about a client experience. And again, I've always been on the customer service side. Um, but this is a client who has given permission for me to share their information, say who they are. Um, they're fine with me giving testimonials, and they've actually speaking to other clients on my behalf as well. Abram is the owner of Heba's Gourmet Foods in Manassas. He actually started out as the manager of the business. Um, he had been a manager for 5 years. He left the business and then decided he wanted to buy the business when the wife and husband who were running Heba's Gourmet Foods at the time decided to sell. Um, he originally was banking with a larger institution, and unfortunately, that employee left midway through the loan application, and their files, for lack of a better term, went missing. They probably got shredded with the move out by that employee. Um, that put him at a precarious situation because he had a deadline to purchase this business. Otherwise, he lost his good faith deposit. I was introduced by his CPA, who I had met at a networking event. Again, I'm always trying to get out into the community. My biggest compliment is someone referring me, and this CPA decided to take a chance. It was their first referral to me. I was able to help Abram purchase the store. Subsequently, we've done additional business. He's purchased real estate for his business, equipment, and he's considering opening additional locations. That's a lot of what I do. I help people with the financial tools that are out there accomplish their goals from the business side. Again, I started out on the personal side and then progressed into the commercial, where there's even less structure, and you're typically trying to bring a lot of different forces together to have that approval from a credit perspective. Um, However, I'm not all bankers are commercial lenders. Another path that I could have taken specifically was going into branch management, higher levels of branch management. There are typically what's considered district managers, regional managers is another term, and then there's C-suite positions within the retail side. I specifically chose to go over to a different division because of my own interest and, frankly, my enjoyment of the lending side of doing that analysis and pairing that with the relationship skills that I have. Um, However, there were some advantages to being with a bank that was growing, and one of those was Atlantic Union Bank sent me to the Virginia Banker School. Um, this picture is my cohort. We all graduated in 2023, May of 23, at the Darden School. A lot of these people I run into all the time. They're at different banks, more competitors sometimes, but I'm still networking with them. I've recruited people from this cohort to come to my bank as commercial lenders, as branch managers. And one of the biggest things that the Virginia Banker School program showcased was we had people who were regulators in the program, commercial lenders like myself, um, higher retail managers, again, those divisional managers, and IT professionals. There's a lot of different roles all coming together, and that's what makes a bank successful or not. You can't only have great commercial lenders because we're going to do a bunch of loans, but if you don't have the regulators in place who can make sure we're following the right procedures, you know we wouldn't be around for a long time. You have to have each department strong separately. And there has to be pushback. There has to be give and take. As much as I may want a loan to go through for a client that I've built a relationship with, it may not be the right time for that approval based on the numbers, based on those 5 C's of credit that I alluded to. Um, Especially attending these classes and this coursework, it's not just all about me. I have employees that I've hired who went into the marketing division. Again, they generate business for me in addition to the networking I'm doing. They're promoting a bank brand. If I just went out and started Paul Reilly's lending service, probably not a lot of people are going to have faith in Paul Reilly unless if they know me directly. They know the brand Atlantic Union Bank, especially in the markets where we're a little bit more established. Northern Virginia is still being built out, and will certainly be helped with Maryland, the Maryland acquisition. Um, but there's a lot that's involved. And specifically, I've hired tellers who came into the bank who were completing additional coursework. One specifically who is in our marketing department now, who I hired, she was getting reimbursed by the bank up to $5,000. There's incentives for banks for additional education. So even if you don't have the requisite education or a proven background, there's ways to get your foot in the door with an institution. And as it's growing and reinvesting in its people, there's going to be opportunities to grow that skill set, to get that education, and hopefully offset some of the expense. While I was doing the Virginia Banker School, I was also getting my MBA, and the bank was kind enough to pay for both programs at the same time. I'd proven that I was an asset to the bank, so they reinvested in myself as an employee, in addition to the benefits programs, the wages, all of the above. But they were willing to put that faith in me. And I will tell you, I've had other banks reach out. I've had people make offers. Other banks are certainly hiring. But that relationship I have with my bank and my institution, that investment they made, has made an impact. Why would I leave a place that I know is growing and I know is investing in me? And I'm going to pause there. Gigi.
That was really cool that you got such wonderful support. I'm not in the banking industry, but I am actually looking at possibly getting into that banking industry, and it was perfect timing because I just started looking into it. What classes or short-term certificates or things online would you recommend to get into the industry? So not that you're in the banking world, but that you want to get into it.
So I can do a deep dive. I would always say it depends on where you want to go within banking is the first part. Again, I've had people who've come in as tellers. I've also had people in IT who have gone directly into that IT position. You don't have to start on the retail side to move into those. And especially if it's a technology program, you want to do data analytics, any of those online or certifications will help with that process. I can get more specific. We can certainly chat offline also. And that goes for anyone on this call. I'm happy to kind of do a one-on-one. I'm going to share my contact information at the end. Laura certainly has as well and can share it. But
okay, because I have I'm in the IT world. I'm also in the training world, and so that's what I was just wondering where I would go or how I get into the industry since I'm not in there right now. I have experience in training. I have experience in programming, older programming, but I'm like, ooh, what should I do to get into the world?
So especially with technology, I would start by going on a number of banks' websites. Again, I can share screen our website. We put a lot of the certifications we want on there. We're very transparent. And most banks are if they know what they're doing, because so much money and time and effort goes into recruiting. And if we're not transparent about what we're looking for, we're wasting our time and your time. I will say technology, especially, there are minimum expectations around the types of coding language. And this isn't as a non-tech person within the bank. I have to be careful how much I go into, but
I understand. I'm not looking into getting into deep IT. It was just that I am in IT world, but Reilly more of the training. But like I said, I just started to look into this, so that's a good point to look at this different help wanted things or job sites to see what sorts they're looking for.
The place I always tell people to start, regardless of where you're looking to end up in the bank, walk into your local branch where you bank right now. Ask to speak with the manager, the assistant manager. If it's a crazy Friday, don't show up at 4 p.m. and expect to have an hour-long conversation. I would schedule, though, a time to sit down and talk with them. Mention you're happy to review the accounts you have, but also explain you're interested in applying to a position in the bank. You want to hear about the values of the bank. You want to hear about what that process is. And one of the big reasons for making that connection with a manager or going on LinkedIn and looking at who else you know in that bank currently, who might work there, is now when you apply, you have someone who can go to HR or could go to that, frankly, external recruiter. A lot of banks will hire additional external support staff for certain positions, and they can check in on that application for you. They can share also the minimum expectations, and just taking that interview, I would apply to a couple to start out with and ask the question at the end, hey, you've seen my resume. am I what you're looking for? What would strengthen my resume as I'm going through this process? Um, Especially if that bank is maybe not your dream bank. Maybe you start out at a smaller bank that can't afford someone with more industry specific, banking specific experience. So they'll bring you on. They expect some level of training to be involved, and then you can grow from there and then apply to your ideal job at a bank in the tech sector. So those are just some ideas. Again, I'm happy to dive into more